Hi, I'm back. Okay, so I may or may not have already almost finished this blanket. So I thought I better get in here and videotape very quickly before I accidentally finish it and have nothing to show you. So what happened was, of course, I laid out all the squares and they were all ready to go. And I'm like, you know, why don't I just join one row? I just want to see what it looks like because I wasn't sure if I liked the stitch that I chose. I love it. So I did one row and then I'm like, let's do another one. And I was just kind of on a roll. And then before I knew it, I had finished all the up and down rows and one of the across rows. And I'm like, stop. So anyway, here we are. You can see that I finished the up and down rows on there. And so there's still these holes where the cross rows need to go. And then this one is where the cross row got finished. So it's all coming together very quickly. But before that happens, I wanted to leave a couple of squares undone so that I can show you some choices. So I'm basically just going to take one edge of this thing and I'm going to go through, and with contrasting color, I'm going to show you, I think we're going to do 3 different choices on how to combine these together, how to join them together. There's one stitch that's just basically doing a single crochet across the top. That'll create a ridge and it'll just be on one side. There's one called, oddly enough, the zipper stitch, which is basically just a flat line, but it is, you use the back loops so it kind of sets it downward so it's not sitting up. So it's kind of flat, still a little bit of a ridge, but it's kind of flat. And then the one I'm doing, which is called a Zig Zag Stitch, but makes me think of a zipper stitch because you basically just go back and forth and grab them as you go. And it creates this really cool sort of flat line, but it's also wider too. And it's, what I love about this one is that, I don't know if you've noticed, but the squares, even if they all have the same amount of stitches on the sides, some of them are stretchier than others, and so they're not really behaving and staying next to each other and being the exact same size. So when I did this stitch, what it does basically is it kind of like grabs everybody and like puts them back in line and is like, makes them behave. So these squares all match up really nicely and they don't look stretched out or anything, and a lot of it has to do with the fact that this is nice and tight, so it pulls them all together. But it's also still stretchy, so it's not like a hard ridge. So I love it. I'm very excited about it. So anyway, so basically what I'm gonna do today is go through and show you those 3 stitches. Should be pretty quick because I'm just gonna show you basically how to do them and maybe how to cross over on the intersection because sometimes that is confusing. And then I'm gonna take all the YouTube videos that I've seen of those 3 stitches and I'm going to post them in the description of the video, just because sometimes it's nice to watch somebody else do it. And the 2 videos that I learned off of for the zipper stitch and the zigzag stitch were like awesome. I mean, you could just sit there and watch them do exactly, there's not a lot of chit chat. I think the second one, there's no chit chat at all. You basically just watch her do it and then it's just done. So they're very cool. So I'm going to post those in there so you can look at them. And the single crochet one, I'm just going to do, it's super easy and you don't even have to prep your squares to do that. I would recommend it, just makes life easier. When you get to this point, you'll be happy that that all the squares have the same amount of stitches on the sides. But you know, if you want to get it done quick, you could just make it happen. Just make sure you pin them together along the way so that they don't get all like wonky as you go. So anyway, yay, we're almost done. My son is actually trying to talk me into not doing a border. And I'm like, I have to do at least a small border just so that it looks finished. And I definitely recommend that for everybody, even if it's just like a single crochet border around the outside to just kind of make it look done. I don't know. I'm just so excited. It's going to be so pretty. So anyway, that's it for now. Let's go ahead and change the camera around and I will start showing you the stitches. Okay guys, so this first stitch that we're going to do is just the single crochet, very, very simple way to connect your squares. And you can do this if you've prepped your squares, or you can do it if you haven't prepped your squares. It's pretty easy. If you haven't prepped your squares, you definitely want to pin it along the way so that it doesn't like move on you, so you kind of know where you're at as you're going, because there may be, just like when we prepped our squares, you may have to kind of skip over some and whatever. You're just gonna like basically be doing it evenly across the square. I would suggest prepping them. I think it'll just make your life easier. But if you're ready to just get it done and you want to not prep them, that's okay with me. So what we're gonna start off with here is we're gonna go in this very corner because this is the chain up on the side. This is the chain going this way. We're gonna grab this chain here and this chain, the same chain on the other side. We're gonna go under both loops. You can, if you wanna get fancy, you could actually just go under the inside loops, the front loop on this, the back loop on this one, the front loop on that one, and then you'd have kind of this cool ridge if you've prepped your squares. So that's something to keep in mind if you wanna do a different look. But I'm just gonna pull this through. Just like you're doing a single crochet on a square. You're just adding a single crochet, only we're putting 2 of them together. I'm gonna chain up 1, and then we're just gonna head straight across the square. I'm gonna go through both loops, but you can choose to do, and you can even tuck that in as you go if you want to. So up, single crochet. So you're going through the front of this square and the front or the back of that square and pulling them together. I'm doing the contrasting color just so that you can see what the stitch looks like. For me personally, I like my join stitch to match my prep work so that you can't really see the stitch individually, but honestly, it looks kind of neat. Or you could even just do your borders in a contrasting color if you wanted to and do that. So many possibilities. Okay, I'm just gonna run this all the way to the end. I just wanna show you how to jump over that intersection. When you're doing the first lines, I like to go all the way down the line, 1 thread or 1 yarn. What I did was I pinned my squares together so that I knew what order they went in, because once you get them upstairs, or well, for me, I was doing it upstairs, but once you get them in a comfy spot where you're working on it and you've got all these squares everywhere, it's easy to make a mistake. So I just pinned them all together just going in 1 strip so that I knew what ones were coming next and made it easier that way. And then I just unpinned them and moved on to the next strip. But now that I've done all of the all the vertical lines, I don't have to have them pinned anymore because they're connected already, so I don't have to worry about that. I probably should have, I'm gonna take this out anyway, but you probably should leave enough to go back so that you are secure. But I'm helping my daughter with her business today too. So I'm going on a bike ride with the boys, helping my daughter with her business, and doing this all at the same time. So I'm definitely never bored on this whole quarantine adventure. This is a lot of fabric to work with at one time, so it is going to get a little bit heavy, and it is way better to do this on your lap than it is to do it on, I'm just trying to do it on a flat surface for the camera so you can see it better, but definitely more comfortable to just have it up on your lap, and warmer and snuggly too at the same time. So the great thing about prepping your squares is that most of the time that's going to come out perfectly. If you didn't prep your squares, you're probably going to have to space it out a little bit. Just to make sure that it works out. So when you get to the part here where this is the train tracks that I'm going to jump over, this is the vertical lines that I already did. You want to make sure that you get the last stitch in, right? So this is the final single crochet on this line. Mine's a little tight right there. So go in there, grab that. And then you also want to get this chain stitch right here that's before that. And you can do it either way. You can just go through the chain stitch, or you can just go through the space, whatever way you choose to do it, just make sure you do it that way through the whole blanket so that it's consistent. and then just jump over that and go right over to the next row. I'm just going to go in the space. And then you just keep going. It's like a little train. And that's what it looks like, just like that. Ta-da. And then this is what it looks like on the back. This is what is always the deciding factor for me, because the back is important to me too. And this is what it looks like on the back. So it's nice and clean. If you're doing it in the same color as your border or your prep work around your squares, you won't even see it. It'll just be like you stitched it together. If you're doing it a contrasting color, it might be kind of cool to do the prep work, sorry, I can't speak, the prep work in the same contrasting color that you do that, so that you don't have just those little digits, unless you like those. So that is single crochet, super easy, does make a little ridge, not a huge ridge though, it's not too bad. So there you go. And then I would suggest too, just so, especially if you do it in a contrasting color, is maybe to come by and do the border in the same color if you do that. If you're doing it in the same color, you may choose not to do a border. I like, see this little, like here, I like to make sure that that's filled in. So that's why I like to have a border right there. It just kind of makes it look all complete. So next one. So this is not the one that I chose to do, but it's the one that I almost chose to do. And I will show you, I will post the video. I'm kind of doing it off memory here. So the video may be slightly different, but start with a slip stitch. All right, start with slip stitch, yes. Or not a slip stitch, sorry, slip knot. Our objective here, we're basically going to do just a slip stitch all the way across, but we're gonna kind of sink it down in there so it's flat. So what we wanna do is we wanna go through the back loop of this square and the front loop of this square, if that makes sense. But if you have them next to each other, it makes more sense because you're doing what looks like the back loops on both sides. So you're sinking it down. And then you're just gonna slip stitch through that and also through this. And then the same thing. So top on this side, back loops on both, but top on this side, pull it up through here and then through there. Top. Pull it up and then through there. So what you end up getting is basically just a slip stitch that goes all the way across, but it's kind of hidden down in this valley. I like the way this looks on the top. Actually, I like the way it looks, especially if you're using the same color yarn as you are for the borders. But it feels clunky to me when I'm doing it. So I enjoy, the next stitch I'm gonna teach you is this is called the zipper stitch, but the next stitch I'm gonna teach you is called the Zig Zag Stitch, and you just like scream through it. It goes so fast. This one feels just a little clunky, but it looks good. There you go. So that is what it looks like on top. So if you can see, that's flatter. It's got a flatter look to it. Sorry, it doesn't have a very good start to it. I should have done that start a little better. Probably a better start on the video than it is on here. So it has a flatter look to it than having that ridge that stands up. It just kind of makes it sink down in there. And the back looks like that. So if you're doing it, again, if you're doing it in the same color, you're not even gonna know it's there. It'll just like, it'll fade in with whatever color, whatever you have going on there. If you're doing contrasting color, you're gonna see it. So just kind of keep that in mind. Okay, now this, and then you use the same principles going over the tracks on this one as I did with the last one. And then this one is the one that I chose to do, and this one is called the Zig Zag Stitch. You start off, I actually, on the ends, I start off on the corners, even though I know that those are, but it's just because it makes for a nice flat edge on there. I'm sure it doesn't make sense as far as number counts go, but So anyway, we're gonna start off on one side. And then we're gonna slip stitch that. And then we're gonna do the same thing on the opposite side, same stitch. I don't know why I did this to myself, but I chose to go through the chain rather than go through the hole created by the chain. But now that I've done that, I need to stay consistent through the whole blanket. So starting off feels wonky, but I promise it gets much easier. Jeez, if I can even get a hold of it. Plus I'm kind of in a weird angle trying to do this for the camera too. Okay. Okay, sorry, that was a lot of work. So I pulled that up and you're gonna pull that through there. Okay, so from now on, that's like the hardest part. From now on, you're just gonna go back and forth between these two stitches. So right through here, like you're doing a single crochet, but you're not, you're gonna do it as a slip stitch. And then right across to the one directly across from it, which is right here, slip stitch. And you just go through the tops. And there you go, that's what it does. It makes a zigzag. Isn't that cool? And then you just weave in your ends. It looks like this one, it's the same color, which I like because it just kind of looks braided almost down the side. And then you just, when you hop over the tracks, you do the same thing. You make sure you get that last chain in there, hop over the tracks, do the chain on the other side, and then go down. Super easy, super fast. I highly, highly, highly recommend this stitch. It's called the zigzag. And I will put the video. She does a beautiful job of she basically just does the stitch in front of your eyes. Not a lot of explanation going on there. So it's great, it's perfect. So anyway, those are the 3 choices that I'm offering you today for joining your squares. You don't have to do what I do. There are tons of different ways to join your squares. So if you want to search Pinterest or search the internet, I'm sure that there are lots of other things to find out there. For me personally, I like the flat. Oh, by the way, this is what it looks like in the back. It looks like a zigzag. Neat, huh? Again, since I'm doing it in the same color, you're not even gonna see it. In fact, let me show you what it looks like on the back in the color I'm doing. There you go. That's what it looks like with the gray on gray. There you go. I'm pretty sure I'm gonna get this done maybe tonight. And then the next video I do for you guys will be the border, if you choose to do a border. And I think for me, I'm gonna do a scalloped border, but I'm not sure. My son and I are talking it out right now. He thinks I should just leave it plain. So maybe it'll just be a double crochet border all the way around. We'll see. But I just love how this blanket, I had no idea what this blanket was going to look like. And now it's like it's still kind of forming its own personality as we go. So super fun. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed that. Let me know if you have any questions at all and I will help you out. Talk to you soon. Bye.